I'm going to call this meeting to order. If you could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we'll now have our moment of silence. Thank you. We'll now start with community recognition. The Ability Awareness Committee presents Homer Township Public Library with a donation for a water bubble wall feature. I'd like to ask Angela McKenna to please come to the podium. Angela has written something. Oh, you know what? I'm so sorry. I skipped roll call completely.
You're so excited for us.
Well, we're all here. Madam Clerk, can you do the roll call, please? Trustee Mason.
Present.
Trustee Reinders.
Present.
Trustee McNaughton.
Present.
Trustee Consolino.
Present.
Trustee Fialco.
Present.
Trustee Stylen.
Present.
Mayor Knightsky-Trokey. Present. I said it wrong. That's okay. It's okay. All right. Back to what I was excited about. So I invited Angela and the Ability Awareness Committee here today because they worked very hard on raising some funds to help the Homer Township Library with their bubble wall. So Angela, go right ahead.
Sure. So I'm here tonight with members of our committee, Karen Adamchek, Bob O'Connor, Nicole Lahaz-Werkan, and of course our mayor as well. This evening we're proud to present a donation to the Homer Library to purchase a bubble wall for their new space. We raised the funds along with Homer Cares by volunteering at Homerfest. We're thankful to all who visited and donated generously. The bubble wall is a calming and relaxing therapeutic tool. It can be beneficial to all people, including those with sensory needs. It fits in perfectly with the library's plans to add additional sensory items and to continue to develop an inclusive library environment for our residents and visitors. We're looking forward to future projects where we continue to bring inclusivity and awareness to our community. So the library ladies are here tonight.
For the bubble wall, but the wall was a little short. We were a little short on funds, so Homer Cares donated $1,131 to finish it off. So there's the rest of the check. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, amendments to the agenda. Is there any amendments?
You starting with anyone individual?
No, go right ahead.
Yes, I would like to move L9 to L1.
Is there any more amendments?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Dan.
Go ahead.
No, I would also like to pull from consent agenda, K2, move it to L2.
Is there any more amendments?
Yeah, I wasn't finished, but we just kind of went on, and that was all right. From the consent agenda, I'd like to also pull 1, 3, and 4.
And where would you like those placed?
We can make them after Jennifer's, however they fall in order will be fine.
After
But
Trustee Consolino's?
Before L1, though. However we do them, just so we cover all of them. It's
Okay, K1, K3, K4 will then follow L9. Any more amendments? Okay, is there a motion to approve the amendments?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second? Trustee Fialko, trustee Cancelino? Roll call, please.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Cancelino?
Aye.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee McNaughton?
Aye.
Motion passes. Approval for minutes, June 14th, 2023. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Mason, is there a second?
I'll second.
Trustee McNaughton, is there any discussion?
I would like to request to table them.
Is there a second to table?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, can you call the roll for the table?
Trustee Mason?
No.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Trustee Cancelino?
Aye.
Trustee McNaughton?
Aye.
Motion carries to table. Moving on to public comment. Beth Verdon.
Thank you, Mayor, Board of Trustees, and staff members for your time this evening. My name is Beth Verdon. I've lived in my home on Parker Road for 31 years. Many of you received an email today with comments and questions my family submitted to the Will County DOT regarding the Parker-Hadley Road study. This 3.6-mile route, called County Highway 1, runs from the Will County line to 167th Street along Hadley Road, Chicago-Bloomington Trail, and south on Parker Road to US Route 6. Will County held a public information meeting on July 26, 2023. The information displayed included overviews of the project purpose, pavement conditions, traffic and crash analysis, design criteria, and environmental resources, while asking the public to vote on 1 to 3 alternatives for bicycle and pedestrian use, pavement width, shoulders, and drainage. This evening, I will share 3 of my comments with you. First, a widening of County Highway 1 in front of our homes, adding extensive intersections, roundabouts, sidewalks, and paths, all options cited in the presentation, will present a significant disruption to our current way of life, fragmenting the rural landscapes, affecting local ecosystems, and altering travel patterns. This area is a jewel in our community, with pristine woodlands and large lot sizes, supporting agriculture, rural residential, estate residential, and R1 zoning. Private wells and septic serve most residents along the route. They live here enjoying community and nature in harmony, the motto for our village. Second, I was interested in learning about historical traffic counts. I found ADT from as far back as 2004 and 2006, cited in Homer Glen's 2007 transportation plan. Expecting to see a consistent increase over the 17 years, I was surprised to find the following: a 3% decrease on Chicago-Bloomington Trail, a 46% decrease on Hadley Road, a 17% decrease on Parker Road. Third, our comments ask Will County to look at roadway alternatives that address safety with the least impact on community members and nature, including keeping the existing roadway width while properly maintaining gravel shoulders, addressing existing drainage issues independently, grading appropriately for vertical alignment in applicable areas, clearing horizontal sightlines of overgrown vegetation along curves on Chicago-Bloomington, Hadley, and 167th Street, maintain the existing four-way stop at Parker and Chicago-Bloomington, clearing sightlines of overgrown vegetation while adding flashing warning lights at both the stop ahead and stop signs, lower the speed limit for the entire County 1 highway route, remark the no passing zone on westbound Chicago-Bloomington approaching Parker Road that existed before resurfacing in 2001. Thank you to our neighbors who have come together. You'll be hearing from many of them about their concerns and ideas. We were given 14 days to review and respond to a presentation that was short on details, yet seemed to have everything figured out for us. Thank you to our elected officials who have returned phone calls and emails. We are grateful for your replies and hope that you can help us navigate what lies ahead.
Thank you, Ms. Verdon. Mike Smith.
Board, Mayor, thank you for your time today. We wish to comment on the county's proposed project to do a quote-unquote preservation improvement to County Route 1 as well. County Route 1, as Beth just laid out before me, You probably recognize it and already know it to be one of the most scenic tree-lined drives, not just in Homer, but in all of Northeast Illinois. Due to the 3-minute maximum comment length, our group of residents have assembled the single letter that represents all of our concerns and will rotate readers every 3 minutes. Additionally, we have further documentation of every referenced claim and resource available afterwards, but do not want to spend our limited time here reading all of those documents. First, a quick vocabulary note. The preservation improvement, as the DOT is calling it, is in fact exactly the opposite. They intend to widen the roads, clear trees from the corridor, and in short, not preserve any of what makes this region unique and beautiful. So why are we talking to you? You are the village of Homer Glen, not the county, not the Department of Transportation. You may be thinking that this is not your job, it's someone else's problem or some other department, right? That's not actually true. Let's take a quick look at world and at American history, a look at what is traditionally known as the doctrine of the lesser magistrates. As governing authorities, you and the county are both magistrates. The county is the higher magistrate, and you, being the village, are the lesser magistrate. First formally written down in 1550 in a document called the Magdeburg Confession, where the town elders of a city named Magdeburg stood in the face of the entire Roman Empire to protect the residents of their town and outlying lands. It was originally written down in 1550, but the concept dates far further back, recorded at least as far back as ancient Egypt, where the midwives protected the male babies born when Pharaoh had put an execution order out for them. This doctrine is embodied not only in the American spirit and way of life, but our founding fathers specifically used and referenced the doctrine of the lesser magistrates in the way they organized our nation. This is the reason we have jurisdictions in the United States. States exist specifically as a check and balance on the authority of the federal government. In the same way, counties check the states, and you, the city, exist as a check against the county. So, when a higher magistrate is in the wrong, not only is a lesser magistrate permitted to stand in, the lesser magistrate has a duty to do so. And we, the people, want you to know you will have our support to rally behind and support you if you do. Now, we need to demonstrate that you, the higher demonstrate to you that the higher magistrate is actually in the wrong. In short, this road project will involve widening the lanes, adding shoulders and drainage ways. To do that, the county wants to seize residents' land along both sides of the road for nearly 4 miles. The land with the most natural beauty and trees to contribute. The county claims this will make the road safer.
30 seconds.
And this is needed. But per their own documentation and the countless traffic studies, it will do the exact opposite. The county is in the wrong in its use of eminent domain. The county intends to use eminent domain to seize our land and kill our trees. However, Illinois has stricter eminent domain laws than other states do. And I'll break there for the next reader because it makes sense then.
Thank you, Mr. Schmidt. Stephanie Weidenberg?
Yep.
Oh, look how quick you are.
Yeah, we're on top of it. Per Illinois State Law, Chapter 735 of Illinois Compiled Statutes 30, Section 5-5-5B, Section I reads, in order for eminent domain to be exercised to acquire property, the condemning authority must prove that the acquisition is necessary for a public purpose. In other words, the burden of proof is on the county. We shouldn't have to be up here defending why we have the right to exist. The county DOT is required by law to prove that any land taken is absolutely necessary, meaning that the public purpose is a necessary purpose and that every individual square inch of land taken is the only way to achieve that public purpose, and that it cannot be achieved another way. And they can't. And we show that using their own documents. The county is in the wrong in its assessment of need. The Will County Long-Term Transportation Report, called Will Connects 2040, thoroughly documents all the needs of the county and maps them out. The county openly acknowledges that it does not consider this to be a need. Therefore, the county cannot consider it necessary for a public person and eminent domain it. The county is in the wrong in its claim that it provides a public need. The county claims this will improve safety, but per their own documents, traffic load has actually reduced along these roads in the last 20 years. There hasn't been a single death in their entire 6-year study window from traffic accidents. They frame their studies as if our road is this dangerous road with 23% more accidents average. But framing it that way puts a huge bias on their data. In reality, you are 8 times more likely to be injured by a vending machine than from an accident on our road. But even if that was a valid safety concern, they have not considered another option. And the county is in the wrong in its failure to consider other options. According to data with the U.S. Department of Transportation Federal Highway Administration, wider lanes and shoulders actually increases traffic speed, and increased speeds increase lethality of any accidents that may occur. The county has not even considered the option to maintain the existing lane widths and promote safety by reducing speeds and implementing traffic calming devices.
30 seconds.
Methods such as road diets, speed cushions, rumble strips, or raised intersections. Methods which have been proven by the Green Roads Initiative and Institute of Transportation Engineers to cost the taxpayers less money, improve safety, and can work within the existing right-of-way without seizing our land. And these organizations have published hard data and studies showing these solutions can work, and the county has not considered them and hasn't even offered us the option to consider them.
Thank you. Mike Smith, Sr.
Continuing, the county is in the wrong in its use of money. That same long-term transportation plan openly acknowledges a $1.3 billion funding shortfall. Where do you think that money will come from? Many federal road grants require a road to have a mortality rate to qualify for grant money. And since our road is already so safe, without even a single death, this project won't qualify. So where will that money come from? Your pockets, as well as county residents. So why are they even considering spending your money on a project that provides no benefit and only harms not just us residents, the residents who live in there, but all the residents who live nearby? They can resurface the road, solve drainage issues, install traffic calming measures for a fraction of the price, all within the existing right-of-way. The county is in the wrong for its destruction of natural beauty. As a people, American values natural beauty immensely. Federally, we have national parks, forest, lands. At the state level, state parks and recreational and hunting areas. Even at the county level, county forest preserves and nature preserves. You cannot contest that we value natural beauty. What makes a space pleasant to view, inhabit, experience? One of, if not the chief factor, is human scale. Mountains and open plains are beautiful because they dwarf the human scale. County lanes and pedestrian walks are beautiful because they match the human scale. Forests are beautiful because they do both. The trees dwarf us vertically, but we inhabit them horizontally. Homer Township has been written about in the Chicago Tribune, Daily Southtown, specifically its scenery. The narrow, winding roads here are a major contributing factor to that beauty. Our roads are beautiful because of their human scale, flanked by tall trees. Widening the road, removing the old growth trees, will cause irreparable loss of the natural beauty and bring this outstanding area to one of the generic visual mush of suburban highways. Sure, we could eliminate all national parks, but no one would ever get mauled by a bear again. But as humans, we're not only willing to risk safety for beauty, we seek it. Lastly,
30 seconds.
I don't want to give the impression that we are all anti-development. We actually are very much for development, but we want good development. Let me tell you about what sort of development our area has and invite you to see and love our area. On this road alone, in addition to the plethora of existing farms, existing small farms, 3 new farm businesses have opened in the last 2 years that I know of. There are probably more. Farm stands pop up, neighbors sell at local farmers market, fresh fruit, eggs,
Time's
meat,
up.
and vegetables are available.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Frank Bujan? Mr. Bujan, I noticed that you stated that you wanted to have 6 minutes. Once you get to your 3-minute mark, you may request the board to grant you additional 3.
Because Abraham Lincoln only had to take 87 words.
Abraham.
For the Gettysburg Address, one of the best ones of all time. I'm Frank Bujan, and I'm be 81 October 9th. I was born in 1942. I want to talk about a lot of subjects, throw the ball back to you guys. Somebody put a list down. I think we need a golf course here. We had a golf course at one time. I looked at the books. The way the guy couldn't make it too much, he had too much money in food. I'm a CPA, certified public accountant since 1975. I analyze a lot of business books. He was making too much of let me just back up my history. I learned how to play golf at Marquette Park, 63rd and Western, 63rd and Kedzie. I caddied at Beverly Country Club for a couple of years. Golf's a great game, and municipalities have an economic advantage over any other private place because they don't have to pay real estate taxes. So you can have somebody from 9 years old to 90 play, like Tiger Woods. It's a good sport for the kids. All you have to do is work with the county and the village for where the land's going to be. Jackson Park's a good course in Chicago. I played that too. So I'm going to be part of a group. I signed up for the Park District to analyze this some more, where to make it, and take a couple years to build it probably. I wanted to rebuild this course before, but George wanted to use it for a park. So that's one thing anyway, 18-hole golf for the moneymaker for the village, which we always want to make money, but we wouldn't have to pay for anything except long-term gains. Grass doesn't depreciate, so it's 90%. Every dollar you charge for a golf course, 90% of it comes back to you, because you just have to have rain and you can play into November, December. So I'd like to set up a committee as soon as possible, Mayor, start studying with the Park District. Billy Casper has a group that runs golf courses, but we could run it ourselves. I'm a CPA and know how to do all kinds of stuff. That's the golf course. Richard J. Daley, I've been sick of this Biden-Trump thing for many years. It made me sick, COVID. I was physically sick for 3 years. The bickering going on, I saw it, and even in here in this village, my wife and I said, why didn't you watch it? Because you got six aldermen, 3 and 3, and then the mayor's a tiebreaker. I've campaigned for George Yukich, I've campaigned for Christie, and I think that's a good idea. Third thing, Richard J. Daley, I didn't know him personally, but I knew Vince Gavin, his bodyguard. And he was a Democrat and Republican both. We need a third party. Been around too long.
30 seconds.
Okay, another 3 minutes? No? Okay. Vince Gavin was his bodyguard. He was a good friend of mine. He and I hitchhiked to Brother Rice for 4 years in high school. And I'm going by the history of the 50s. I'm going to put a group of people together to go and make a movie about the 50s, about fish, not guns. I don't want to bring up the gun issue tonight, so I'll bring it up tonight. We hitchhiked for 4 years, nobody wrestled.
Your time has expired.
No, it's only 3 minutes. I thought I got 6.
It's a motion to extend for another 3 minutes.
Take a vote.
Is there a motion to extend Mr. Bujan an additional 3 minutes?
I make that motion.
Is there a
Thank you.
second?
Thank you,
I'll
sir.
second.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Call the roll, please.
The other thing I wanted to do. Somebody votes against it?
No.
The
nobody.
lawyers are
We're doing the,
Hold on a second. We have to
I
call the
debate
roll.
with lawyers because I always debate with the IRS. I don't like the
hold on,
IRS.
Mr. Bujan, can you hold,
You
please?
have to hold this on while we call the roll.
I'm sorry. I'm nervous, jumpy south side. I talk
Trustee Mason. Trustee McNaughton.
Aye.
Trustee Consolino.
Aye.
Trustee Stylen.
Aye.
Trustee Reinders. Aye. Trustee Fialko.
Aye.
Just like my football team.
We're
in
just
eighth grade, 6
approving
and-
time, we're just
3 more
approving
minutes.
the extra 3
3
minutes.
more minutes, right. I want to nominate Roman, can't remember Roman's last name, to get money back from the American Water Village. He's a bulldog. He was a firm attorney. They want $25 million for it. We'll give him $2 or $3 million. I'll do the analysis or hire somebody. A lot of this stuff's depreciated. We can buy it from American Water because they're just in one object is to make money. The Village of Orland Park and they did the thing years ago. Danny McLaughlin I know real well. He's been a real good mayor, and a lot of you guys probably know Danny too. He went to Brother Rice. He's built up Orland Park real good. He disagreed with Bernie Murphy about making a big south town. I know, but anyway, I'm not being a name dropper, but I kind of am. But anyway, I think we should take over Illinois Water as soon as possible. The courts drag it out way the fuck too long. Excuse my language, I'm on TV. Should say way to act too long. So that's the golf course. What else did I talk about? Limits of 2 terms as mayor is good. George did a good thing there. A lot of these mayors are in it 40 years. West Patricio was good. Daily was okay, and then we had George was good. He's Croatian. I'm Croatian and Irish. The only Croatian kid on the south side, an Irish neighbor. I got in a lot of fights, but not because of that, because I have a trigger temper. I wanted another 3 minutes, but I'm not going to push my luck tonight. But the golf course, what do you guys think about it? I just wanted some feedback. Is it a good idea to make it a moneymaker?
Mr. Bujan, here's what I'll do. I will personally call you myself tomorrow. We can have a long conversation about your concerns.
Because I lost your cell phone number.
Okay, I will call, I have it. I'll give you a
Well,
buzz.
thank you, trustees, and thank you, everybody else.
Thank you, Mr. Bujan.
I've lived there 20 years, so I've seen the village go real nice. And I think the controlled growth was good, because we were afraid we were going to have a bunch of McDonald's on 159th Street. Thank you.
Thank you. Ed Gardner?
Good evening. I'm going to pick up on the Parker Hadley improvement, although I think that's a stretch for that word. Back to why I don't want to give the impression that we're all anti-development. Repeating on this road alone, in addition to the plethora of existing small farms, 3 new farm businesses have opened up in the last 2 years that we know of. There are probably more. Farm stands pop up and neighbors sell at local farmers markets. Fresh fruit, eggs, meat, and vegetables are available throughout their corridor. The air is clean. There's a constant beauty of leaves changing colors on the tree-lined roads or covered in fresh snow in the winter. Red skies as the sun is rising and setting over our long horizons. We have our own little internal economy. Rather than a Walmart or a McDonald's and a Starbucks on every corner, the development we love about our area looks like the farm stand on the corner, buying hay from Mike, having your dog groomed by Bridget, buying eggs or fruit from Heart and Soil Farm, beef from Faltz's Ranch, chicken, flowers, or pumpkins from Smith Family Farm. It looks like your neighbor Bob helping you repair that tractor or stable your horse or repair your fence. We still have a piece of we have a piece of life where life is just moving a little bit slower by us. We are pro-speed reduction, and therefore we're pro-safety. We live on this road and we want it to be safe, but the proposed solution is more likely to increase speeds due to the wider lanes, which give a sense of large safety margin, which the Green Roads Initiative and the U.S. Department of Transportation Federal Highway Administration has documented itself at length that wider lanes and roads increase speed. The deforestation of the property required to widen the lanes will also make it easy to spot any speed enforcement going on, which will invite opportunistic speeding. And there is a value in what we've described. The entire town of Homer Glen benefits from our area, and it doesn't cost you a dime. We live this way and create the atmosphere we want to live in because it is what we want. And thanks to us, Homer Glen has a reputation of being the only place within 30 miles of Chicago with real working farms and open lands and scenic views. And all of your property is more valuable because we contribute to that atmosphere. People from all over Chicagoland make pilgrimages here every fall to attend the agricultural events and see the scenery. We contribute to all that economic activity. If you lose us, you
30
lose that.
seconds.
While there's nothing morally wrong with sprawling wide roads and generic suburban development, if we turn Homer Glen into Hoffman Estates or Tinley Park, our property has no more value than Hoffman Estates or Tinley Park, and we all lose.
Thank you, Mr. Gardner. Lori Kopsey? Kopeski. Okay, to continue. In conclusion, we have done our homework. We have made our claim, and we are asking you, the lesser magistrates, to do your duty and stand in the gap with us against the county overreach for our benefit and for that of the entire village of Homer Glen. Additional considerations: this route is along the original Chicago Bloomington Trail, and incredible historic homes and barns from the original settlers still line the road and should be preserved in their original context. Endangered species of bat utilize the habitat of the trees being destroyed, and the county has not followed protocol to prove their use on it. Zoning considerations for farmers. The county is already performing the work and out there surveying today before public comment is even closed. So we know this is all song and dance because they intend to enforce this upon us. Thank you. Thank you. Mark Galecki.
Thanks. I just wanted to maybe defer the vote for the mosquito pest control. During the last mosquito spraying, I noticed that as the vehicle drove by my neighborhood, there was maybe like 3-foot diameter of mosquito repellent or spray being dispersed. And so overall, I know that I don't live in a corner of Homer Glen. I think, if it didn't happen in my area, and it probably didn't get sprayed well in other parts of Homer Glen. And so I would maybe defer the vote, try to get some kind of GoPro tracking to just make sure that we're getting what we're paying for. And so that's really all I'm mentioning.
Thank you. Okay, that was it for public comment. We are now moving on to reports and communications from President and other officers. Joe, do you have anything for right now?
If you don't mind, yes. Not to be pretentious or anything, but I'd like to say I've been conducting some meetings with the department heads here and trying to become familiar with their staffs and operations. So that's been going on. I'd also like to thank several of our seasonal employees who are going to be leaving in the next few weeks. They worked hard for the village, and I thank them. And also, we rescheduled the employee appreciation luncheon, which was supposed to be held a couple weeks ago. It was canceled due to extreme heat, and that will be held on September 8th. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Joe. Trustees, Trustee Consolino.
I'd like to start off tonight with my gratitude towards former village manager Carmen Morella. He was an amazing asset to the village of Homer Glen. He'll be sorely missed, and I wish him all the best with greener pastures. I would also like to extend my gratitude to Director Baber for stepping up to plate. Tonight, I'd like to report on the Trantina Farm issue, because we discussed this in Environment Committee last week. So here are some of the facts that I was able to gather, and then when I'm done reading the facts, I would like for Homer Township Road District Commissioner Brent Porfillo to speak, clarify anything that I might have missed. So what I understand is until you disturb an acre, you do not need an EPA NOI, which is a Notice of Intent permit. The EPA NOI permit is a formality, not an oversight by our engineer. You do not pursue this kind of permit unless there is over an acre that is disturbed and reached. It is the Homer Township Road District Commissioner's purview to obtain this permit then. When the EPA measures the disturbed area, or measured the disturbed area at Trantina Farm with engineer Westcott, it was measured in feet and converted to acres, making the overage 0.02 of an acre, equating to 871.20 feet. This measurement is smaller than most of the sheds in Homer Glen. An agreement was signed between the Homer Township Road District Commissioner and M&J for free, clean clay fill and topsoil stripping at Trantina Farm for site grading for the proposed Homer Township Civic Center. The amount of clay fill in the agreement was estimated at 5,000 CY by M&J. An SWPP site plan was developed and sent to Homer Glen for approval with the footprint based on the preliminary site layout done in 2022 by Landworks Ltd. M&J has completed their work with respect to clay fill at Trantina and graded the clay fill at the site. We ended up with an estimated quantity of 2,500 CY of clean clay fill for the building and parking lot pads. It was discussed with the Homer Glen Village engineer that when the site disturbance was around 1 acre, the Homer Township Road District Commissioner would submit to IEPA an NOI NPDES permit for construction activity, notifying them that there are earth disturbing activities exceeding an acre. Upon being notified by M&J that the project generating the clay fill was nearing completion, the Homer Township Road District Commissioner measured the site to see if we are near that threshold. It was measured at just under an acre. At that time, the IEPA, Mr. Al Gonzalez, contacted and notified the Homer Township Road District Commissioner that a resident had made a complaint and they wanted to verify the earth disturbance area. Homer District Road District Commissioner submitted documents showing their field of measurement at just under an acre. The IEPA came to the site on 7/21/23 and they measured it to be slightly over 1 acre at 1.05 acres. The Homer Glen Village engineer sent an email to the Homer Township Road District Commissioner confirming this after the site visit. As such, an IEPA NOI will now be pursued by the Homer Township Road District Commissioner, as it should be. There are new IEPA NOI requirements redefining the WOTUS site outfall, which may nullify the need for a permit. The Homer Township Road District Commissioner contacted the IEPA on this for clarification. That was Mr. J. Patel. As a clarification, it needs to be understood that an IEPA NOI is just a formality. The IEPA does not regulate the clay fill quality for this permit, nor do they require, point of order, testing of the clay fill for this permit. The NOI simply tells the IEPA that we are disturbing earth, where at, and how much, and shows a SWPPP for the site. Now I'd like for Mr. Porfilio to step up.
Trustee
Point
Cancelino?
of order,
we're-
I think we said no yielding of your time. You can't yield your time to another speaker.
Is this now an understood thing? Is this going to be the protocol going forward, that if it's not on the agenda, then we're not going to let somebody speak during our report?
You can't yield your time to another speaker, that's all I said.
We can put it under
We've
old
done
business.
Old business.
We've done it before with the mayor how many times?
I'm only aware of once, but I just checked with Dan.
No,
We
it's
agree.
been more than once. She also relinquished her time to Mr. Richmond.
I think if we handle it under old business,
Mr. Porfilio, it's up to you if you want to stay to old business. I don't expect you to.
Why don't we just do it this way? If anybody has questions, I'm here to answer. If there was some stuff that she said that you might not have understood.
I don't think this is proper, so.
Thank you, Mr. Porfilio. We'll call you back up in our own business. Thank you. Trustee Cancelino, are you done with your report? Hearing nothing. Trustee Reinders?
Don't have much, but I just would like to make everybody aware, and I'm sure everybody is aware, that the township on Monday voted, they held a special meeting to vote on Welter Farm to actually change the zoning on Welter Farm. They are going to actually file an application with the Plan Commission to have that done. They would like it zoned from E1 to back to OS, which would be open space. And I know that there's been a lot of chatter on Facebook and social media the last couple days in regards to that happening. The only thing I would like to say is that, I've been a champion of this for a very long time, since the day that Supervisor Balich had that meeting here when he wanted to sell Purdy Farm and Paul Farm to farmers or developers or to whomever, in the day that he wanted to bring that senior development into Welter Farm. I was against it then, and I have been on the case of the supervisor to do something like this. And this has nothing to do with politics. This has everything to do with bringing our community back together. As Republicans, we've all been separated. We've all been at each other, and I think this is just a gesture. And believe me, if you want to blame anybody, blame me, because I've been the champion against the supervisor to get this done, because I think it was something that is needed in order to start to move forward to heal this village. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Trustee Reinders. Trustee Fialko?
all right. In a minute, in about 5 minutes, we're going to have a resolution read for Misty McMichael, who is in the, and Steve McMichael, who is in, or Misty is in the crowd tonight. But what I'd like to start with is the Homer Township's special meeting that did take place on Monday. They would like, they're going to petition us, the village, to put it to open space from E1. It's always been E1. It never was open space. And that's the gesture from the township board meeting, and it was voted on unanimously. So I just wanted to add what Rose had to say. In addition to that, Homerfest, September 6th at 5:30 p.m. will be our next meeting. Now to just talk a little bit about what we're going to do in about 5 minutes here. The McMichael family are residents of Homer Glen. And we are so proud. What I'd like to say is we have taken, and on Friday, I had no idea what was taking place. On Friday, I called Misty to try and get shirts for everybody to wear at this meeting tonight, and I found out that Steve had gone in the hospital that night. So Misty made sure that we all got shirts for tonight, but on that day we helped out with a little bit of a rally that took place on Friday over by Silver Cross Hospital. But the McMichael family has given to the community for many, many years as philanthropists, for when the kids' organizations have asked them to help, and when other organizations have asked them to help, they've always been there for others. So it's an honor for this board to be able to give back in a small way to the McMichael family. And so the resolution will take place in about 5 minutes, but that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Fialko. Trustee McNaughton?
Nothing to report, thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Mason.
Nothing to report.
Trustee Stylen?
I don't have anything to report from my committee, but I would like to respond to a couple things. I would like to be able to comment when we do old business on Trantina. Would that be
Is it
possible?
regarding to Trantina?
Yes.
Do you want to leave it at old business?
Yes, that's
Thank you.
fine. And then I'd like to thank Rose for your work on open space and preserving that. And I just would like to clarify that when that land was purchased and preserved for open space, the village did not have a zoning of open space, so that's why that has to be done. Thank you. And I'd like to welcome Joe Baker as our interim village manager. Thank you.
Yes, welcome, Joe.
Thank you, Trustee Stylen. Village Attorney? Oh, I'm sorry, Village Clerk? I'm all over the place. I'm excited.
Just a couple things. Join us for a movie Under the Stars this Friday showing the Minions, Rise of Gru. The fun's going to start at 6:30 p.m. with food trucks, ice cream, a balloon artist, and Minions. Next week, if you can come out for the second market in the Glen on August 17th from 3 to 7 p.m., you can check out local vendors that are going to be selling honey, flowers, baked goods, and much more. Andy Victory joins us for an acoustic set also at 4 p.m. On August 18th, that's going to be our final movie Under the Stars with the Goonies. Come out at 6:30 p.m. for pre-show activities, and the movie will start at dusk.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Now the Village Attorney.
No report.
Thank you. Public safety officials? Okay, I guess that's me next. Yes, thank you, Trustee Reinders, for spearheading that open space with Supervisor Balich. I'm sure the residents are going to be very appreciative of that. I'd like to take a minute and just thank Trustee Fialko. A lot of people were thanking me on Facebook and calling me and calling the village, thanking me for putting together the rally that took place at Silver Cross, but it was actually Trustee Fialko who spearheaded that. All he did was give me a call, and I just made a little post, and people came together. So the true credit goes to Trustee Fialko for that one. And then thank you to the Ability Awareness Committee for raising those funds and working really hard to get the library their bubble wall. And that's all I have. So we're going to move on to the consent agenda. The only items left remaining are item 5 and 6. Consider for approval a quote from Curry Ford for the purchase of 2 new trucks for the Public Works Department for a total of $102,693. And consider for approval a 5-year contract with Clark Mosquito Control in the amount of $35,980 for each year beginning in 2023 and ending in 2027. Since there's no discussion, Madam Clerk, is there a motion? Mr. Bujan, I'm sorry, but public comment is over. I'm happy to talk to you tomorrow. Okay. Thank you. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second? I'll second. Trustee Reinders? Trustee Mason? Sorry, Trustee Mason then got the second? Okay. Since there's no discussion, Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino.
Aye.
Trustee McNaughton.
Aye.
Motion carries. And to the gentleman who made the Clark statement, we will keep our eye on that. Thank you for noticing that for us. Trustee Silent?
I just wanted to make a comment. I meant to do that. Sometimes when the truck is not spraying, it might be due to a resident's request, because you can call Clark and say not to spray by your home.
Good call. Thank you.
May I add to that also? For the Clark mosquito question out there, if you go to our website, the front page of the website we had Jack Pemish here and gave an explanation in 2021 about the whole process and the MDS sheets and everything else. They're very easy to contact, and in this contract, we now have it's like a pop or a trail report that we get from where they've gone. So I hope that helps you in what you're trying to find out.
Thank you. Anybody else on Clark mosquito? No.
I was going to make a comment. Excuse me, Madam Mayor.
I know this is
I was
so
going to make a comment to see if there was a way to ensure that coverage was being met. But I believe, I don't know if they have tracking systems and things like that, but as Trustee Stylen stated, I think you're going to have people that ask for it to be shut off at certain times. And I don't know the actual coverage of the spray, but we're reduced to only so far in our jurisdictions, correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Joe, is there any way to turn the air down?
I was going to think up. No, down?
Well, I mean, it's cold.
Down is good.
All right. I'm sorry, Misty. I just wanted you to wait a little longer. All right. Moving on to legislation and action items. We're going to start with L9. Consider for approval resolution number 23-010, a resolution offered to urge the Pro Football Hall of Fame Selection Committee to name Steve Mongo McMichael to the Football Hall of Fame class of 2024. And with that being said, is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I second that motion.
All right. With that being said, I'm going to ask Trustee Fialco to read the, no. You can't call it just yet. The resolution.
Okay. Village of Homer Glen, Will County, Illinois, resolution number 23-010. A resolution offered to urge the Pro Football Hall of Fame Selection Committee to name Steve Mongo McMichael to the Football Hall of Fame class of 2024. Whereas the Pro Football Hall of Fame began in 1963 and is currently recognized worldwide as America's premier sports Hall of Fame, and whereas the Pro Football Hall of Fame pays tribute to the talents and triumphs of professional football's greatest legends, and whereas inducts to the Pro Football Hall of Fame are selected by a 49-member committee made up of primarily members of the media and are known as the Selection Committee. And whereas Chicago Bears legend Steve Mongo McMichael was selected as one of 12 finalists for the class of 2024 Hall of Fame. And whereas McMichael began playing football for the Texas Longhorns, University of Texas, Austin, where he earned the MVP and the 1979 Hula Bowl and was inducted into the Longhorn Hall of Honor in 1999 and the College Football Hall of Fame in 2010. And whereas McMichael was drafted out of Texas in 1980 by the New England Patriots, signed by the Chicago Bears in 1981 as a free agent, where he had an astounding streak of starting in 101 games. And whereas McMichael played in the National Football League for 15 years, where he was a two-time Pro Bowler and five-time All-Pro, who was integral to the Chicago Bears' victory in Super Bowl 20. And whereas McMichael gained notoriety in 1991, a game against the New York Jets where the Bears were down 13-6 with less than 2 minutes remaining in the game, and directly because of McMichael's play, the Bears recovered and won the game. Now it be resolved by the President and Board of Trustees of the Village of Homer Glen that we recognize Steve Mongo McMichael on the accomplishments he has achieved throughout his football career in both college and National Football League, Be it further resolved that on behalf of the nearly 25,000 residents of Homer Glen, we do hereby strongly urge the Pro Football Hall of Fame Selection Committee to recognize the storied career of Steve Mongo McMichael and vote to enshrine him to his rightful place as a member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Be it further resolved that the suitable copies of this resolution be presented to Steve Mongo McMichael and his family and the chairman of the Board of Trustees of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and that the text of this resolution be spread across the Journal of Proceedings of his honorable body.
Amen, brother. From your lips to God's ears. Yes. I think that's wonderful, and I really appreciate all you guys have done for us, and I think it's great. And I think he's going to get in, and I think he'll live to see it, and that's all I want. Thank you, Misty. Does anybody have anything? Does anybody have anything to add? Oh, thank you guys. No, I'm sure. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Trustee Stylen.
Yes.
Trustee Mason.
Aye.
Trustee McNaughton.
Aye.
Trustee Fialko.
Aye.
Trustee Consolino.
Aye.
Trustee Reinders.
Aye.
I vote too, aye. I know there's a green line here.
Yes.
On the count of three, go Mongo. 1, 2, 3, go Mongo!
Thank you. I didn't see that.
Okay. We sure love our residents.
Coming in, firing.
Okay, now for more legislation and action items, we're going to go back up to K1. You're welcome. Thank you and good luck.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Wish him well.
All right, K1, consider for approval the accounts payable for the period of July 28th, 2023 through August 10th, 2023 in the amounts of $643,088.30. Is there a motion? So moved. Trustee Consolino, is there a second?
I'll second.
Trustee Mason? Trustee Consolino? Do you have discussion? No. Trustee Mason?
No, ma'am.
Trustee McNaughton?
No, ma'am.
Trustee Stylen?
No.
Trustee Fialko?
The reason I took this out of the consent agenda was one reason only, and that would be on page 12, where we have a contract for $412,526, where actually it ends up being a little bit more than that. I just want clarification when we're going to sit down and we're going to go through that contract. That would be,
Yep.
we've never sat down and kind of went through that contract where the board approved it for $412,000. So I would just want to call attention to it, that I think it's important that we get together and discuss that contract, whether it be an executive session or however you choose to handle it. I don't think it should just be a blanket thing or as a perennial item that pops up and just ends up in the consent agenda. I think it needs to be discussed. So.
Yes, I agree with you. I actually made some headway on having a discussion. I actually invited a trustee to come with me. But if Trustee Fialko, if you'd like, we can absolutely.
However you want to do it.
However the board decides to do, we can have an executive session discussion first, and then we can, myself and one other trustee can go, and the village manager can go to discuss. And I also agree that anything over, over a certain dollar amount should also just not be on consent agenda, just because it's such a large number. But that's it.
Okay, just so we're all on the same page, and we'll do that. And hopefully sometime within the next, well, this just got approved, right? So, I mean, are we taking it out? I'm not taking it out so we're not approving it. I want to be clear on that. I'm okay with approving it, but I'm also saying that we need to discuss it.
I agree.
Agree. I'm sorry, did I step on here?
No.
you did not.
Sorry.
Trustee Reinders, did you have anything?
No, I did not.
Okay. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee McNaughton?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Trustee Stylen, sorry.
Aye.
Motion carries again. Going to move on to K3. Consider for approval a quotation from Brynif Communications for the installation of a backup.
Actually,
No, L2 was going.
K2.
K2, I'm sorry.
I thought, Fialko, you said.
Jennifer pulled K2.
But,
Are we doing 1, 2, 3, 4? Well, you pulled 2.
yeah, you pulled 2. You said you wanted it
No,
before. No, Jennifer, Trustee Consolino, no.
I pulled 1,
Excuse me.
3, and 4.
Trustee Consolino motioned to table or to move L2.
That's right.
So I was doing 1, 3, 4, then 2. It doesn't matter at this point. So I can go to 2. Consider for approval payment of the Village of Homer Glen's June legal bills from Peterson, Johnson, and Murray in the amount of $7,810.50. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Trustee Mason, do you have any discussion?
I do not.
Trustee McNaughton?
I also do not.
Trustee Consolino?
I have a question. Did you ever send the email to Tria yet, Mr. O'Grady?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got a letter back, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Stylen?
No discussion.
Trustee Fialko?
Since it's been Paula, I'll just ask, like I always ask the village manager, Joe, did you have a chance to review the billing on this item?
I looked at some of it, some of the items on the bill. I'm not aware of the history or background on those items.
But in looking at it, you're satisfied with the bill, right? Okay, that's it for me.
Thank you. Trustee Reinders?
Nothing.
Okay, Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee McNaughton?
Aye.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
No.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 3, consider for approval a quotation from Brynif Communications for installation of backup outdoor warning siren system control station in the amount of $8,083.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Trustee Falco, do you have anything?
Yes, I pulled this for the reason, it's 8, I think Ron Cuss is there. Yeah, if you can, if you could help us out a little bit here. Just in my knowing with the way electricity works, just a little bit more than others, the backup system that you're trying to, you're backing up a backup system is what it sounds like in here, am I correct? You're saying that their backup system's not backed up and you lost power, but you want to put it in another location, right? For $8,000 some, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So you're basically backing up a backup system. That's the worry. Not that there's not a backup system, but you're worried about the batteries being depleted to not back up the backup system. But there is a backup system.
Right now, there is a small UPS battery that hooks up the current computer where we have it now in our garage. It's hooked up to a Dell computer, and we've already had to make some updates and repairs to it this year already. After planning for power outages, and if we are to add more, the computer, if we were to add a new one, would work in tandem with the one we currently have. And I could show you a list on my phone now of every time since I've started that we have lost connection with that computer. So by putting it here, I've already talked with Mike, I've already talked with Bill about doing some of the work we can do ourselves and already shaving $4,000 off this project. We would have it on a virtual computer within here, and this building is under generator backup. Anaco is not. So if we were to lose one, right now we lose that computer, I cannot set these sirens off. And that's how significant this is.
Why wouldn't it be cheaper to just get another computer as the backup with another battery backup instead of spending almost $10,000? The way I look at it, we're supposed to be getting rid of Anaco, and we're located off of Anaco Drive for what you're talking about. You're talking about moving here, so I almost think when we get and make the move off of Anico to here, that would be a better time to do it than try and kind of piecemeal things together and then have to redo it once we move everything back over here. To me, a generator to put in is anywhere from $5,000 to $8,000, a backup generator. So you're almost, your cost is, without having a backup generator, is just as high as putting a small backup generator, and you're backing up a backup system. So I think that we're doing this a little too early myself. I'm not, of course, safety is number one, but again, it's not that we don't have a backup system. You're backing up a backup system, and we have plans to, again, move over here. Doing all these things in like a quilt or a patchwork, it doesn't make sense to me, unless you could add to that.
It's not so much a backup, we're also hardening the infrastructure for this system. And the computers work in tandem. So if we lose the one, we have options. There are other towns, I could tell you, Orland Park did the same thing. They have 2 computers. If one goes down, you still have the ability to do this. I mean, we're talking about stuff we hope we never use, and I fully understand that. But if we had a long-term outage on Anico, we would not be setting off our sirens. And it's
long-term outage, right? And ComEd, with the infrastructure that they've done with their SCADA distribution automation system that they have, the outages are very minimal these days. You probably have noticed. They've invested millions upon millions of dollars to improve that system. So what I'm saying is, I'm not saying we shouldn't have this system and improve the system once we transfer all of our belongings out of one location to this as a permanent location. I'm just saying I think this is too early right now to do it, to back up a backup system. I mean, that's where I'm at with it. So that would be my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. I lost track a while ago. Trustee Mason?
Yes, Mr. Cuss, what is the time frame for moving over to this location? Do you know that?
It would be done by the end of the year. Once we had approval, we would have to submit our order. Federal Signal's out of University Park, so they are local. We would get some of the work done. We'd have to run coaxial cable and stuff through the Village Hall. That would be done internally. Mike was going to help to develop a virtual computer, which is all done in-house. I could get a more concrete answer on that. Right now, we wouldn't start till the end of September, early October, but it would be done by the end of the year.
All right, so it's good 4 months out at least.
4 to 8 weeks after we say yes.
I got you. And when you say, I'm no expert in the field, but when you say a backup system, and I understand that it's a minute battery running off a laptop, and you're looking for a more permanent, hard structure to ensure that we have the ability to set off these alarms, correct?
The way we've planned it, having the representative come here with facilities maintenance and with our IT, is something significant would have to happen to this building for us not to be able to do that in the future.
I understand. Thank you, Mr. Cuss.
Trustee Reinders?
I have nothing.
Trustee Stylen?
Yes, could you just tell me, was this budgeted for? In the budget implications, it says what fund it comes out of, but was this something that you had thought of before?
It was. We planned for it last year. I started doing some of the work after talking with Braniff Communications on how we could save off of that, doing some of the stuff here, running our own cables. We already have infrastructure for computers that we don't need a new computer. We don't need a whole bunch of other things that would have been tallied. Like I said, we've saved just about $4,000 for what we budgeted.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee McNaughton?
Thanks, Mr. Gus. How common is the double redundancy system? I guess that's my first question, across other villages. Second question is, if the double redundancy wasn't in place and that first system failed, and there was something that happened, what would be the outcome of that?
We would not set our sirens off.
And going back to the first question, the double redundancy, how common is that?
I know Orland Park has it. I believe New Lenox has it. With the amount of severes, if you actually look at the National Weather Service this year, within Illinois, this has been one of the worst years for tornadoes. I don't want to misspeak and tell you a whole bunch of other towns I'm not sure of. I can only mention those two.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Trustee Consolino? Mr. Pierce, did you have something?
I was just kind of here to support Ron and see if he needed anything on the IT side. And I wanted to say that we already have a system here running multiple virtual computers, so adding another virtual PC to that system is not going to cost us anything. I believe the cost is the infrastructure of this, getting the signal to the other towers. So that's what the backup to the backup is, because if at Anaco, the power goes out, there is no backup. So it's not a backup to the backup, this would be the primary backup, and then Anaco would be the backup to the backup. That would almost never need to be used, and it wouldn't be like doing things piecemeal, because like you said, we're gonna be moving here eventually anyways. If we just have it set up right here, it'll be here, and it'll be good to go like right now.
So it's a necessity at some point if it's coming here.
Yeah.
So regardless, it's not 10,000, it's 8 as I read it right here, correct?
Yeah, and I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think doing it at any different sort of time frame is gonna change any cost or anything like that.
Is there any closing statements? Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Is there a contract that comes with this, or is this completely self-sufficient where you operate it, or does it come with a contingent contract based on the use, and are we paying a monthly fee towards this at all?
We don't. It falls under a Commander One platform, which costs the village $3,500 a year. It allows us to have a direct link to all of our systems. For when the power got hit off 151st and took out the power, we get immediate notifications. We are able to make phone calls and get quick repairs because we have the direct link to all of 7 sirens and the computers that way.
Okay. That would be it for me.
Trustee Reinders?
So my question is right now, the $3,500 that we're paying per year covers everything? And will it include this new system, this new backup system that you want to put in?
The $3,500 covers the Commander One subscription.
Okay.
Which is the web-based subscription that will automatically set them off should a tornado warning hit one of the polygons in the National Weather Service, go over the plotted sirens. It should automatically go off that way. We have a fail-safe where we can manually set it off, which we would ultimately duplicate here. I'm able, based on the subscription, to set them off anywhere on web credentials.
So by adding this additional system, will that increase the yearly fee?
No.
No? Okay.
Everything that we pay for our maintenance agreements and for the Commander One subscription does not change.
And basically, once this system is installed here, then this will be the main system, and then Anaco will be the backup system?
Yes, and then if we were to move buildings and something like that, we would just bring that to wherever we go to keep the infrastructure with the backups that way.
Okay, thank you.
Does that say that anywhere in the packet, that this was going to become the main backup and that Anaco was going to be secondary?
No.
I don't see that anywhere.
The computers are going to work in tandem, so there is no backup and secondary, so to speak. They both have data, they both have power. But should one fail when we have this one, we don't lose the ability to do it.
All right, thank you.
And, excuse me, I have another question, Mr. Cass. So you're saying that the entire village, the entire population of in excess of 25,000 people would not be protected if that primary system went down?
Yes, they would be relying on hearing the sirens from neighboring
Okay, so at a quick calculation, that's around a quarter per person that we would be expending to ensure that everyone is safe and secure.
Yes, if we do this, like I said, it has to, something really significant has to happen to this.
I think that's good insurance. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Trustee McNaughton?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino? Aye. Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Motion carries. Consider for approval a quote from Alta Equipment Company for the purchase of a new Kubota compact track loader with bucket and pallet forks for a total of $63,722.53 for the Parks Department.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Trustee Fialko?
All right, I did make a few phone calls today on this. I know this is something we need, and it was displayed during Homerfest, and it's a nice piece of equipment made in China, or in Japan. We have Shorewood right here in Homer Glen, who's been very good to us when we work with them or we reach out to them. They have John Deere products, a 325G skid steer that is in the same category. They did tell me that we have government pricing that they will work with us on. So I'd actually like to table this for the moment and take and have Jennifer Vittori reach out and work with Mark Rathburn from Shorewood right here in Homer Glen and see a comparable with an item made maybe in this country that's in Moline, Illinois they're made. And then we would be spending our money with somebody who actually is in this village. Their business is in the village of Homer Glen. So I would actually, I don't know if you want to further discuss it, but I'd like to make the motion to table it.
Is there a second to table?
I'll second.
Trustee Reinders, Madam Clerk, is there any more discussion on the table? Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee McNaughton?
Aye.
Trustee Mason?
Motion carries. Now moving on to legislation and action items. Item 1. Consider for approval ordinance number 23-044, an ordinance granting a variance to a use mix of brick, stucco, and cement board siding materials on the first floor on the proposed dwelling in lieu of the exterior construction standards requiring the stone and brick material cover 100% of the aggregated total area of all the first floor and story exterior walls, exclusive of doors, windows, and associated trim, 75-67A of Chapter 75 of the Code, the Village of Homer Glen, for certain real property located in R3 Single Family Residential District at 14835 West 139th Street, Homer Glen, Illinois. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Fialko, is there a second?
I'll second.
Trustee Mason, Trustee Fialko?
Joe, I would just reach out to you. I mean, you've worked with this. I think we've talked about this before. And the only question I would have is, in here it does say a painted brick, and I'm not I'm not used to seeing it say painted brick. Now, this is an older structure that they're going to paint the brick, and to me it looks okay. I've seen it done before, but I've never seen it in our motion here. So as long as you approve of something like that and we're good with those changes.
People painting brick, it seems to be a new trend.
Yes.
I'm kind of surprised by it, but we see these new houses going up and people are painting them white. Something different, but you know, as far as durability and things like that, this is going to be a more contemporary style to this home, and it's been there for a while, so I think I would fully support this.
All right, thank you, Joe. That's it for me.
Trustee Mason?
No, I actually called Joe earlier today, and we discussed it, and you know, it's a mixed area of homes. You have some with siding, you have some with brick, you have some that are all brick, you have some that are half, and I think that it's conducive of the area, so.
Thank you, Trustee Mason. Trustee Consolino?
There were no neighborhood complaints, correct?
Not.
Thanks. Trustee Stylen?
Nothing.
Trustee Reinders?
No, I think it's a great improvement to the home. If anybody ever dabbles in architecture, you can see that this is the wave of the future. Everybody is actually going back to nature, putting wood and all different types of surfaces on homes. So I think it looks great, and I definitely think it's great for the area.
Thank you. Trustee McNaughton?
I like it. I support it. I think more properties like this would be fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee McNaughton?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Motion carries. The next item on the agenda, it pertains to liquor, and Trustee Reinders will recuse herself from any discussion. Consider for approval ordinance number 23-045, an ordinance amending 83-68 of the Code of the Village of Homer Glen, increasing the number of Class B liquor licenses issued within the Village of Homer Glen. Castleford Entertainment and Gaming LLC, 14411 South Bell Road, owner Joseph Parenti, DBA Nikki's Pub. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Mason, is there a second?
Second.
Trustee Cancelino, Trustee Mason?
I met with Mr. Fuente. I went to his facility. He's done, to use of a lack of better words, backflips and hula hoops to make sure he's covered his bases, and I see no reason why not.
Thank you. Trustee Cancelino?
Director Baber, could you explain the two changes that were made coming back before us?
I believe it had to do with, maybe Janie could help me, the changes that occurred.
Okay. Deputy Clerk, Gina Marcotte indicated that I believe there were a couple of changes that were made on the application.
One had to do with the manager listing. He put himself down. In most cases, you wouldn't hire a manager if your project wasn't going to be moving forward, so that would be something that would happen at a later date.
And there was another question regarding if he has any other establishment or liquor license in any other county, and his original answer was no, but he changed it to yes.
Correct.
So, no, I knew that, but I wanted you to explain so everybody could hear. And then also the intent is still to bring in gambling, correct?
I don't know the intent.
Consider on the table today as for his liquor license.
But when he applied before us, he admitted that his intent was to establish gambling, and that's why several trustees said no.
The thing on the agenda today is liquor license. I can't speak for him. I can't speak for Mr. Peretti.
That's all.
Trustee McNaughton? Trustee Fialko?
Yes, this is for the liquor license itself, but we were, I'm sorry, it is for increasing the liquor license by one.
Right.
Right, you're on L2, right? What were you saying then?
I thought you were talking about the next one, sorry.
No. The thing is, there are a few questions about this, and as far as increasing the liquor license by one, I'm all for supporting local businesses, but we did have some issues come up. I guess they can be discussed at part two, maybe. I'm not sure, but the petitioner has come up, and the thing from the beginning has always been the gambling license to go with it. Matter of fact, we can talk about it when we get to that part, though. But that is my, that is all I have to say on this. I'll wait till the next section.
Thank you. Trustee Stylen?
Sorry, no comment, it's just on the liquor license.
Madam Clerk? Oh, sorry.
Just I think we just need to have a discussion on liquor licenses one of these days, but
yeah, I'm going to talk.
It wouldn't apply to this right now.
I'm going to talk about that under old business, or new, or wherever. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Cancelino?
No.
Trustee Fialko?
Pass?
Trustee?
No, there's here.
He means present.
Pass does not mean that you're not voting. A pass just means it comes back to me after everybody else.
Gotcha, okay. Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Trustee McNaughton?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
I'm going to abstain.
Motion carries. No. I have to vote. Aye.
Trustee?
Yeah, because it's three.
Sorry,
Yeah.
It passes 3-2.
Well, Rose had to recuse herself. Oh, that she doesn't count as a no. Yep, it passes. Sorry. All right, moving on to number 3. Consider for approval ordinance number 23-046, an ordinance assigning an available Class B liquor license, restaurant and bar, to Castleford Entertainment and Gaming LLC, 14411 South Bell Road, owner Joseph Parenti, doing business as Nikki's Pub, located at 14411 South Bell Road, Homer Glen. I also forgot to state this is also a consideration for liquor license, so Trustee Reinders will recuse herself. Is there a motion?
Still moved.
Trustee Mason and Trustee Cancelino. Trustee Mason?
Again, I think he's got the square footage, he has all the parameters covered, and I don't see why not.
Trustee Cancelino?
Mr. Parenti, is your intent still to do gambling?
That's an option.
Is that all you have, Jennifer? Trustee Fialko?
All right. This whole situation here, you've petitioned for two things at one time. Your lease says, matter of fact, your lease is contingent and has the language right in it. So I have a deep concern about two places that are gambling facilities within 150 feet of each other. I don't know if you'd be willing to drop the gambling feature in your contract and just go with your restaurant and your bar. I'd support that 100%, but when we have a gambling facility within 150 feet of each other, we've been scolded before from people who are sitting in this audience about bringing gaming in and oversaturating the village with gaming, right? So there are concerned citizens out there in that regard.
Trustee Fialko, could I ask you a question? Can you please clarify which other?
Yeah, which other, with all due respect, which other establishment I'm unaware of?
You have Blueberry Hill that
They do not have a.
They don't have a liquor license. and
I
one's not-
talked to them and he said that he is.
One is not currently pending?
Here, that doesn't matter. We're discussing this, I know you're saying that, but they've been here before you. And he's already told me that he's going for that. And so I see it as a.
I'm going to call point of order.
Thank you.
Because we're not discussing any other
No, that
businesses.
point of order doesn't have anything to do.
Okay, well, excuse me.
One at a time.
Yeah, I
Well, you're
have the
out of
floor.
order.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are, because we are only
No, I
talking,
am not.
excuse me, Trustee Fialko, if I may.
Go ahead.
We are talking about Mr. Parenti's petition for a liquor license. This has nothing to do with Blueberry Hill and their potential gaming or his possibility of getting gaming. We're looking strictly at a liquor license. I ask that we please stick to the subject matter.
I can talk about
Trustee
anything I
Canzolino.
want during the discussion if it pertains to it. There is
I
nothing
can,
in
but you
IML or OMA
misquoted.
that
You
says that I
misstated.
don't. You're wrong.
You made misinformation. You said
No, I didn't.
2 gaming places within 150
Yes.
feet of each other. Blueberry Hill has not come forward yet.
Months ago, Blueberry Hill said they were doing gaming.
Okay.
That's why they came to us. But I'll continue, even though what you
You
said
may
was incorrect.
no, Fialko, I'm not going to argue with you.
Right, I'm not going to
Okay?
argue with you.
I'm just,
Yeah, I guess
Madam Mayor,
too
may
late.
I
I'm
make a
sorry,
comment?
Mr. Parenti, that this is happening
Yeah,
once
That's okay.
again.
If I
I'm
may,
saying.
with all due respect, first of all, there is no gaming establishment. There is no current application for one.
I'm not looking
And
for
moreover,
you to tell
if
me.
I can-
Trustee
if I
Fialko,
can
point of
also
order.
respect-
Mr. Fialko
Trustee
has-
Fialko, please let Mr.
I have
Parenti
the
finish.
floor.
He was speaking.
I'm
You asked him a
speaking.
question. He's
He answered it.
responding.
No, I'm not done yet. With all due respect, when the liquor application was entered, you voted for it knowing that he may be applying for a liquor license along with the gaming license. So it just seems like we have different set of rules applying to different people applying for the same thing. I'm only applying for a liquor license at this time. There isn't 2 gaming locations within 150 feet. So you've misspoken, and those are not the facts.
Okay. Let's go with that. So I guess you're petitioning, though, and in your petition and in your lease, it does say that everything is contingent upon 2 things, correct?
The lease speaks for
Are you a
itself.
corporation or are you an LLC?
I'm an LLC.
Okay, an LLC, there's different rules when it comes down to it, and let's just go through them.
Sure.
When we take in, just so everybody knows too, the square feet, I think your square foot is fine. I know that was something that came up before. But let's move on here just a little bit. Under an LLC, things are a little bit differently. You are not a corporation, right? You are a limited liability company. And so things are a little bit different. So I'd like, because there's this controversial thing going on as to whether you have to be there or if you have to take and run the place or how you have to manage it and what your percentage is, that's where I'm held up on it a little bit. Because if you read in IML, page 398, it says that basically the way that you're running things, if you were a corporation, it would be different. But under the LLC and operating managers, you're listed as an operating manager, right? So that says in here that you are required to live in the community. Now, I don't know, I've been told that there's other places in Homer Glen.
You voted for one. You voted for one.
But you're not listening. I
am
don't know.
listening.
I don't know. Here,
Point
I'm
of
not
order,
asking
sir.
you for you
Excuse
to
me, Mr.
respond to me,
Parente,
yes.
when he is speaking, I ask that you please remain quiet
Here,
unless he
I
asks a
don't know if
question.
they're a corporation or not, though, at this point. Very few liquor licenses have come across this board that involve this kind of conflict. It's nothing against you. And the thing is, if Blueberry Hill is set up as a corporation and their managers live in Homer Glen, you can then do that. But according to IML, the way it's set up and the way you've structured yourself changes things. So I would like legal counsel to take that and give us advice to make sure we're doing the right thing. Now, because maybe it happened in the past, yeah, go ahead. If it happened in the past, I wasn't here for that. And when you're saying Blueberry Hill, you're right. I didn't look because, you know what? It did not happen in a way or often enough where we were able to review it. But I don't know that he isn't a corporation. So what I'm saying is now that it's been called to our attention, which is different, it wasn't for that one issue that I was involved with, I guess you could say. And I want to help you. I don't know if Paul would say that you could restructure as a corporation and then do it this way, and that would be better. I want to protect you, and I want to protect us.
With all due respect, I have legal counsel. I've done this many times. I am protected. And I'm not sure what you're saying because it doesn't
That's
apply.
why you didn't cover that part. That's why I'm asking our legal counsel to take a look at it and give us his legal opinion.
I think the application looks fine. He can be...
Well, it's not the application, that's IML rule.
I know, but I'm saying this subchapter seems to be talking about who may... This section talks about elected officials holding mayoral and
Could you read that last that paragraph?
I know, but you got to read it. You got to read it. I know you have to read it.
Something else.
You have to read it in its entirety, sir. You can't just read it. We're talking here about mayors and presidents, and we're talking about almost mirrors the village code. It talks about who can hold a license, and then it says corporate stockholders are exempt from the residency requirement.
Right.
However, the operating...
Over 3%.
Over 3%, yeah, it's a little blurred. However, the operating managers are required to reside in the community.
Right, so, okay, so I don't know what you're...
He's not a corporation.
He's not a corporation, he's an LLC.
So he doesn't have to...
So it doesn't fall into that same category.
Right, so the operating manager doesn't need to live in the community.
It doesn't say that.
It says, that's right, it's silent on it, so that means he's fine.
Yeah, with all due respect, in statutory interpretation, if it doesn't say it, it's silent, doesn't apply.
I just said that, sir.
No, Mr. Bujan, I'm sorry. Mr. Bujan. No, I'm sorry. Mr. Bujan, I'm sorry. Thank you. Trustee Fialko, are you done?
I am not. We were given some information today about businesses in Homer Glen with square footage. That square footage, not all of these have liquor licenses that go with them. So I'm not sure. The difference is we don't know who is actually listed as a corporation at this point and who isn't. And that's where I was holding back here with this whole thing. I'm not looking for an answer just yet. So this is confusing when we get a list sent to us with the square footage of places, which to me, I don't think it has too much to do with it. But it does say in the Illinois comprised statute 235 ILCS 5/6-2, number 1, it says a person who is not a resident of any city, village, or county in which the premises are covered by the license are located cannot have issuance of the license is prohibited. That's the Illinois state statute. So let me see if that's the last one. And I think that, Paul, I really believe that we should be asking a little bit deeper, maybe called the state of Illinois. I don't know. I just don't want us to get in any kind of problems. And we've already talked about we talked last week about looking at the liquor license and making it, if we can, so you do not have to reside in Homer Glen, but that's not the way the ordinance reads right now. So I'd actually like to change that if we can to accommodate what you're trying to accomplish. And then we were also talking about the gaming license too. So I would just like to do it the right way. I support businesses 100%. I just think that we kind of are rushing into this now that this is something newer that came across the board, and the book is that thick. It's hard to know every rule, and I look them up as we go. But I just think that we need to have council figure this out, or we need to take and change the ordinances to fit your need. That's all.
I'd like to address one more thing, too. Director Baber, can you explain to us that if we grant this, he does not have to come before the board to get his gaming license?
That is my understanding at this time, yeah.
Yes, that was my understanding the last time. And the reason the question of the gambling keeps coming up is because several trustees sat on this board at the special meeting that we had a month ago. We had a special meeting regarding this, and they stated that they didn't want any more gambling, that's what the voters did not want, that voted for them. So if that's the case, then if we grant this, then you're opening the doors for more gambling. So based on that, and then I also heard same trustees last meeting complaining that we're not living up to our ordinances or abiding by them. So here we are again, if we vote on this. We haven't changed the ordinance, and we should, and we've all said that we were open to doing so and why we should. But again, you're going against your own ordinance again. So that's all I have to say.
I'm going to request that trustees wait to be called upon to speak again. I'm not going to keep continuing to go out of order. Trustee McNaughton.
Thank you. Let's say that Trustee Fialko was correct, which that's open to interpretation. It's my belief, my understanding that in a managed LLC, that member can appoint or hire a manager to run the day-to-day operations. Would you be opposed to hiring a manager that lives and resides in Homer Glen?
Well, we try to, and that's what we put in the application. There will probably be more than one manager.
Perfect.
But again, with all due respect, I've practiced law for 31 years. What I'm hearing makes absolutely no sense. So I don't know how to dispel something that's nonsensical.
Agreed.
But at the same time, every LLC that's filed doesn't have the ownership operate the day-to-day activities. But to that end, we would have at least one, if not two managers and myself. So that would be full coverage.
Perfect. Okay. Could you speak a little bit to, the sort of the budget that you're looking at, the budget spend, how you've revised that potentially from the last meeting? We gave a bunch of feedback at the last village meeting when you appeared to discuss this and kind of what's happened since then.
Sure, thank you. I came before the board. I've heard your concerns. So board members reached out to, explain them in detail. We listened. We went back to the drawing board as a collaboration with Homer Glen. The budget is ballooned about 39%. If you look at the renditions, I think this is a high-scale establishment. With all due respect, 98% of the applications for liquor licenses that this board is given are residents of the community. They don't serve food, gas stations, chicken places. So I've taken the comments at heart. You've seen what we've done. We've corrected every single thing and done every single thing the board has asked. We've gone well beyond the rules. We were within the rules to begin with. We've now gone 100 yards beyond them. And so all I can discuss here is what the requirements are. Have we satisfied them? We have. We've gone beyond them. There's nothing much I think else I can do.
Trustee Stylen?
Yeah, well, this is difficult because I am an anti-gaming person, but what is before me is a business that is following all of our current ordinances and is applying for a license. And the question is the residency requirement. From what I understand, we have like 28 businesses.
39.
Or whatever, and 39?
39 liquor licenses and 8 reside in Homer Glen.
So I don't know why we haven't enforced that and why it has happened, and I've never had to vote that way. So, but then there's also the question about if there's an LLC, that you just have to have a manager that lives in here? That part is confusing to me.
Attorney O'Grady just explained, if it's silent, it doesn't mean they have it. So it specifically states a corporation. So if it doesn't say LLC, it doesn't apply. So no, he does not specifically need to have a resident from Homer Glen being his manager.
Okay. So whether Blueberry Hill gets a license or gaming or not, I mean, they have a liquor license. They can come to get gaming without us having a say in it. So I can't, that doesn't apply right here, right now. So I strongly would like us to review this liquor ordinance, because if I were to deny this gentleman here this application, what's to say somebody isn't going to come in another month and ask for an application, and then people give him one? So I feel like he's being penalized by who he is, not by not following the rules. So that's my comment.
Thank you. Any closing statements?
Yes.
Trustee Fialko?
What you referred to was IML, not the state statute, which I asked Paul to review for you. So it was IML that was spoke about, and their verbiage in there, but this, Paul's got the state statute in front of him.
The state statute mirrors the village code.
So the village code mirrors the state statute. That's why it's...
In that one section. Yes.
And that's where it comes from, that you have to live in the resident of Homer Glen. And I'm willing to change that if we can. I would love to do that, because I don't think it's right.
Well, we've done it 31 times already.
It does, just because we did it before doesn't make it right.
Trustee Steilen, sorry, Trustee Fialko, are you done?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Trustee Mason?
Yes, as Trustee Steilen states, he's asking for a liquor license. He's followed all of our ordinances. We've passed out 39 of these, of which 8 people live in Homer Glens. Again, and I use, for a lack or terminology from Mr. Fialko, a lack of better words, he's done everything. The backflips, the hula hoops, he's made this place beautiful. The rendition is gorgeous. The menu's increased. I met with him. He understood the concerns. CJ, you met with him as well. I don't think we're penalizing the person or the business, and I don't understand why, because he's followed every ordinance. And Trustee Consolino, you said we're not following ordinances. Actually, we are.
Trustee McNaughton?
I don't believe, based on the information that we have today, that there's not a single ordinance or ordinances that he hasn't not only met, but actually exceeded, based on the information that I've looked at. I went down to the premises, I looked at it, it's over 1,800 square feet. We asked him to revise the menu, he revised the menu. We asked him if he could look at making it white tablecloth style. He has also done that. His budget now is almost 50% over the initial budget. I'm all for bringing new businesses to Homer Glen. I would like to have another spot to go and grab a bite to eat and grab a drink. Based on the rules today, I don't see how we can't approve this. If we don't like the rules, we need to change the ordinances, which I would be more than happy to look at.
Thank you. Trustee Consolino? Okay, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
I would like to...
I asked for one discussion and one final closing on this. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
No.
Trustee Steilen?
Aye.
Trustee McNaughton?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
No.
Motion passes. Moving on to number 4. Thank you, Mr. Peretti.
Thank you.
Consider for approving assigning a Class E liquor license, temporary license to Holistic Riding Equestrian Therapy, hosting an event at Shady Oaks Camp located at 16300 South Parker Road, Homer Glen, for the HRET Country Western fundraiser held on September 16, 2023. I'd also like to note on this one that since there is a liquor license, Trustee Reinders will be recusing herself from any discussion and vote.
I'll make the motion.
And I'll second.
Trustee Consolino and Trustee Fialko. Trustee Consolino?
Nothing, I'm okay with
Trustee Fialko?
Nothing.
Trustee Mason?
Nothing.
Trustee McNaughton?
No.
Trustee Steilen?
No.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Consolino? Aye. Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee McNaughton?
Aye.
And then
Motion carries. Where am I? Consider for approval ordinance number 23-047, an ordinance approving a plot of dedication of a public road. Is there a motion?
I so move.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Trustee Stylen?
No comment.
Trustee Fialko?
I'd just like to ask, since Brett Westcott put this together, I've never seen anything like this come across the board before, as far as it looks like the donation of the land, and maybe you could just explain it a little bit, because, I mean, at first sight, it doesn't look like there would be any reason why we would reject this.
Yes, so essentially, the subject parcel here at Parker Road is at the intersection of Parker and Bruce Road. Those are both village streets. During the initial plat of this back in, let's see if I look at here correctly, I believe it was 1978. There was an easement established for utility companies there, but the right-of-way of the road, and we see this a lot through the villages, the old plats would go out to the center line of the road. That would be included in the plat. So bringing this kind of up to date, this parcel has been here vacant for a long time. Homeowners come and propose a single-family home on this parcel. So essentially in exchange for the approval of the grading plan, we requested the 40 feet of right-of-way on Bruce Road and Parker Road so that that's formally dedicated to the Village of Homer Glen as public right-of-way.
Who seconded?
All right, thank you. That's all.
Trustee Consolino? No. Trustee Reinders? Trustee McNaughton? Trustee Mason?
No, ma'am.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee McNaughton?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye. Motion carries. Consider for approval of payment to Will County Department of Transportation for sidewalk, landscape medians, and landscape upgrades as requested by the Village of Homer Glen in the amount of $187,042.67. Is there a motion?
I will make that motion.
Trustee Fialko, is there a second? I'll second. Was that Trustee Reinders? Yes. Okay. Trustee Fialko?
Again, Brett Westcott, I know this was out there, everybody was talking about the sidewalks adjacent to the roads that are being put in. So again, I don't see where the problem is with this at all. And if you could just explain just a little bit how we got there from where we were, because at first I believe we hadn't seen this yet, right? And so if you could just explain it a little bit.
So during the design of the Bell Road widening project, a while back, prior to my start with the village, it looks like the Village of Homer Glen had negotiated some upgraded landscaping in addition to the sidewalk that was non-existing between Meadowview Lane and Woodland Drive there on the west side of the road. And then they also opted to go with grassed medians instead of the concrete medians in the center of the road there. So with all these costs that generated that number, it was based off an engineer's estimate. The numbers that you see before you now are based off of the actual line item costs for the project now that it's underway. And then part of that agreement was at the start of the project, we pay Will County 90% of the total cost, and then at the end of the project, once all the final quantities are measured and accounted for, we pay the remaining 10% for that. As far as the sidewalk and the 50-50 split, because this was approved and put into motion prior to that resolution being passed, it does not qualify for the 50-50 split for this project. And I had talked to Will County about that to see if they would still honor it, but they said no. And we're not the only people that have asked for that as well. So they're sticking to it. 2023 moving forward, that's a viable option for us. But for this, because it was a resolution that was approved back in 2021, that was not eligible for the 50-50 split, unfortunately.
Well, thank you for that information. Although, maybe, I mean, I don't mind working with Will County. When we were talking about 143rd and Bell, we waived all their costs to the Village of Homer Glen to be able to do that. Now, we've worked with the county, and now we get in a little bind, and I don't know if you can throw, maybe we could call them again and say, hey, we helped you out over here. We're just looking, even if they gave us 10% off. I mean, if we've got something. So to me, for us working with them and now we're asking for them to work with us, it's not our fault that that resolution happened after the fact. We're just asking to be grandfathered kind of in. I don't know if you think it's worth the effort for one more, and recognize or mention that we worked with them at 143rd and Bell and waived all their fees for them to do all the things they have to do, and now we're asking for help, and they're telling us no. So if you say it's impossible, it can't be done, I'll understand. But if you think there's even hope to try and do that with that verbiage and calling them and saying that's what I just said, I would hope that we could do something.
I would say it would probably be a better chance of us to try and facilitate that being emphasized in some of these other contracts that have not started construction. But now that this has started construction and having us previously agreed to pay these costs to Will County, I don't think that they're going to budge on that, honestly, based off the conversations that I've had with them at the biweekly meetings that I attend.
And at the level that the person that you talk to, there's nobody or 2 tiers above them that could be talked to, that they could waive it or go above somebody's head. I don't know. Sometimes the project managers get involved. Was it the project manager you were talking to?
Yes.
Yeah. So
On the construction
obviously
side of things, yeah.
they have then people 2 tiers above them, 3 tiers above them sometimes that can kind of waive those kind of things where they think it's impossible at the project manager level. But when you get to the higher level and we explain ourselves as a village and we want to work with them in the future, could you help us out here? Even if we save ourselves 10%, do you think it would be worth the effort?
So Mr. Balich had reached out to Will County regarding this same thing previously, and they had sent me that email chain essentially stating that that's where I'm getting this from, is essentially that starting in 2023 onward, and that's the resolution, and they're not really willing to try and grandfather or negotiate that, because as you can imagine, would open a big can of worms for Will County in terms of these things. So this is, unfortunately, I mean, well, I say unfortunately, it's a beautification of the corridor, so it's a nice thing.
Yeah.
And it's well worth the money, but unfortunately, we already agreed to pay these costs to them, and the 90% is due, so.
That resolution, or that thing, that the part that they changed was on June 15th of 2023 though, right?
Correct.
Okay. All right, if you're saying we've made all the effort, I understand it. Thank you for doing that.
Yes, sir.
Trustee Reinders?
Brett, my only question is, where is this going to come out of the budget?
So this has already been budgeted out of our
70.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
70.00.85.635. This was in the engineering budget item. The previous village engineer, Mike Salamovich, had accounted for this and bookmarked it, so I carried that over into this year's budget.
Okay.
Was that it, Trustee Reinders?
That's it for me.
Trustee Cancelino? Trustee McNaughton?
No.
Trustee Stylen?
Nothing.
Trustee Mason?
Yes, Brett, I guess I'm a little confused because I remember just a couple meetings ago, we were saying that the Will County would split some of this costing, and you're telling me that 20 days later, they're absolutely saying no?
So this was our decision to do the landscaping upgrades and improvement. So April 28th, 2021. So that was 2 years ago when we entered in this agreement with Will County, essentially. And that was that we would pay the full amount for the cost of the sidewalk and the landscaping upgrades. So then beyond that, right, now passing this resolution, essentially what Trustee Fialco and I were just discussing there is that they're not willing to backdate that for the 50-50 split.
And they use the township letter from Mr. Balich as the answer to us.
Well, essentially what I had talked to the CM or the PM for Will County at the Bell Road bi-weekly progress meetings, and I had addressed this to him and said, can we negotiate the 50-50 split now, and predate it? And then he said they've already discussed this with some folks, and then he had sent me that email chain regarding that resolution.
I got you. Thank you, Brett. I just got a little confused because I saw all of that and heard all of that for, the last 3 months leading up to it. And then here we are where we're going to pay 90% up front and then 10% in the finale. So I see no split whatsoever. So it throws me for, knocks me back a little.
Understood. Well, we can, what I can say is that we'll certainly work to get the 50-50 split and do the best that we can moving forward. Some of the other Will County projects as they're ongoing prior to the start of the construction of the project, and see if we can lock in some better rates for ourselves there.
Thank you, Mr. Westcott.
Yep.
Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Trustee McNaughton?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino? Aye. Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Motion carries. Consider for approval a quote of $5,900 from Instant Shade, Inc. to relocate trees within Heritage Park for Heritage Park parking expansion project. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Trustee Reinders, is there a
second
second?
it.
Trustee Fialko, Trustee Reinders?
Basically, I had talked to Jennifer a little bit about this, and this is, she is actually going, the village itself is going to be moving some of these trees to save the village money. So, and I guess this is just what there's a company that's going to come out and do some of the small work, the work that they can't do. So that's where this cost is coming in.
Would that be all?
That's it.
Trustee Fialko?
I did have conversation about this also. And the thing, what I did learn from this is there's different size spades to take these trees out. And I believe the Fields quote has a smaller spade, and Arbor Care and Instant Shade have a larger spade to be able to not disturb the roots of the tree in moving the trees as much. So they get a wider cut on the ball of the tree and don't disturb the roots if they don't have to, or it spreads it out. So there's a little bit more of a cost for that. And with that said, I'm thinking that helps not kill the trees in the process of moving them. But I also noticed that one of the businesses was from Homer Glen and the other two were not. And anybody that's ever talked to me knows I try to promote businesses within Homer Glen, and I see the difference. Now, the savings are the difference between the Fields quote, which is a smaller spade. We have to go technically, I'm guessing, by 1 and 2 because their spades are like the same size. So originally, the Instant Shade was a little more expensive, but being that they were from Homer Glen, I asked if we could make a phone call and see if they could meet the number 2 in that regard, and we were successful in doing that. So for me, I'd like to see us give the business to Instant Shade, which is the business from Homer Glen. So that would be my comment. Thank you.
Mayor, could I make another comment, please?
Sure.
In respect, with all respect to Jennifer, she did reach out to a lot of companies and she did not get responses. And so this is why it has taken so long to get to this point here, because there were a lot of companies that she waited and waited and called and called and called, and they never called back. So she had to go with what she had.
I do know that to be true. I was with her when she made
Yeah.
several phone calls.
And also, we talked about moving the tree from back here. That's going to be probably a part of this as well. So we're going to move the tree, the big evergreen tree that's here, and put it over in the spot of where the active core is.
Yes.
And that will be our official Christmas tree, which
Yes.
this was the actual
Yes.
official Christmas tree. So.
Trustee Consolino?
Nothing.
Trustee Mason?
Yes, I went back and watched the meeting on this, and I found a lot of things were omitted or just not factual. I know that Trustee Fialko had mentioned during that last meeting that we were going to be paying $10,000 a spot. And he didn't tell me about the Musco lighting that was already purchased. And so you kind of added that into the numbers. So I think at this time I would like, and I mean there's other things too, because I went back and I saw that you said the 319, Trustee Consolino said it, our original master plan encroached on the 319, and after viewing it and looking at the video again, I see that that also does. And I know you can trade 319 land for 319, and I believe it was also mentioned by Mr. Westcott that we thought the grant was going to be running out, and I believe I asked Mr. Baber to find out if that's true, because I don't believe that's I don't believe that to be so.
Till the end of '24, I believe.
Yeah, the grant is available till September 2024.
2024.
Yes.
So I think at this time, I'd either like to move to table it or move it to a workshop, so we can have further discussion, because I think it's been omitted, and now this is something that you said, I don't want to mix mosh or to be patching things together when we do have a master plan.
Yeah, I'm confused as well.
Okay.
September of '24, Brett?
Yes, September
well,
2024, I believe is the date.
Yeah, I guess I'm confused as well. So I would also like to move to a workshop. Just based on that, it seems like there's, Trustee Mason just put a lot of things out there that I'm unsure of or haven't heard of before, so I'd like to look into that and investigate a little bit more myself, just based on that new information. I think I would be more comfortable with a workshop to, I guess, clear up some of that confusion we're feeling.
Trustee Stylen?
I think what I'm hearing is that there's some confusion and there's some unknowns, that I happen to like instant shades, so it's not about the vendor or anything like that. But I think that there are some questions that need to be addressed, and the feeling is to have a workshop and to table this until after a workshop.
Okay, so if I'm hearing this correctly, Trustee Mason, you are looking to make a motion to table.
Yes, ma'am.
And Trustee Mason, you are making the second.
Yes.
Is that how that works?
Motion to a workshop?
We already have a motion on the floor.
superseding motion to table.
Yes.
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 Well, can we finish discussion before we do that?
Well, that's why I let Trustee Stylen go, so everyone had spoke. Right, I'm getting there, I'm getting there. So we're in discussion of the table right now, okay? So Trustee Fialco?
Before we table it, I think you're saying...
Well, we're in the motion to table.
Right, I know, we're on the
Okay.
motion to table it.
Right.
And I just want to discuss why he wants to table it and what is confusing.
Because as I stated in the...
No, I'm giving an explanation. Right. The trees that are going to be moved, as far as I know, are on the inner circle. That portion that you're talking about, or
I don't see a map of that in our agenda moments and stuff. I do not see a map of that, and I'd like to ensure that. I don't like to remove the trees when we don't need to. I see no additional information in there, and that's kind of what we got the first time.
But I'm just saying you want to table it for something that isn't part of what we were talking about. You were mentioning prices of parking spots, which has nothing to do.
Well, I went back and watched the video, and there was a whole bunch of discrepancies, and I just want to make sure, because there was lack of information even in that packet, and now there's lack of information in this packet. I don't see a map.
Okay, we're going to do a motion to table for a workshop.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee McNaughton?
Aye.
Trustee Fialco?
No.
Trustee Consolino?
No.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
No.
Mayor Knightsky Troiki?
Aye. Okay. Moving on to consider for approval of 2023 to 2026 pre-qualified professional engineering services list. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Trustee Mason?
No, ma'am, not at this time.
Trustee McNaughton?
No, thank you.
Trustee Consolino? No. Trustee Fialco?
Nothing.
Trustee Stylen?
Yeah, I just like to request that this is for 3 years. I just wonder why we can't just make it for 1 year.
Mr. Westcott?
Yeah, so essentially, I just took the time period that we had from the last engineering RFP, just a continuation of the 3 years. I think it's just a good chunk. surprisingly, it seems like time goes by very fast here. I feel like I just started with the village a year ago, and we're right here. That's true. And it's been over a year now. So I think it's just it's a good chunk of time to have this pre-vetted set group of firms that we can use. I think just some additional clarification on that. This is just for kind of the smaller day-to-day projects that we can call on these folks for. It does add, you know, this list of pre-vetted firms that we have worked with or that we plan to work with. It allows us to see them bidding on some of these larger projects, but it doesn't limit on who we select for these larger projects. So for the medium and larger projects, outside firms that are not on this vetted list can still respond to those RFPs, and they will be evaluated equally with all the other firms that are pre-vetted, and it'll still be, you know, an equal bid process there. This is mostly just for the smaller things, feasibility studies or drainage studies, or just kind of odds and ends things, surveys, plats of surveys and things like that, that we can just pull on from some of these guys to grab some quick quotes and get those things moving.
Did that answer your question? Did you want to?
No, I just, you know, that would just be my only objection, but I'm still okay with the 3 years.
Trustee Fialko? No, did I?
Nothing.
Did I call everyone? That was, okay. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Mason?
Aye.
Trustee McNaughton?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Stylen?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Reinders?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, we're going to move on to old business. If you guys don't mind, I'd like to start, since I've been collecting things. Trustee Reinders and I had a discussion about A&F, about possibly bringing back A&F. I'm not 100% sold on bringing back A&F yet, just because of specifically what happened with tonight's meeting. We had 6 items on the agenda under the consent. We pulled off 4. With respect to Trustee Consolino's, I know in the previous meeting she had asked for that to be removed for every other meeting coming forward, which I understand. So with that one, excusing that one, we removed 3. We all received an email on July 28th regarding to all of these items. I guess I did my homework in that time. I mean, it's August 9th. I understand that not everybody has time to go into each and every single one of these things, but if A&F, we'd have to do the same thing, just 3 of us, or 3 trustees and the mayor. I would like to get your feedback on A&F, or ask why was there any responses from when Carmen was here? He said no one has ever responded to his 3 A&F emails but me. So I'm curious as to why. Go ahead, yeah, this is discussion for.
You had a discussion with me that staff doesn't like us kind of reaching out to them directly, for one. For 2, Joe can't handle babysit the office all day long with questions about A&F. I would be, honestly, if the 3 trustees and yourself want to put A&F together, I don't have to be on A&F just because I was on it before. I think it would be a great experience. I've seen in some of the trustees that they are very good with working with numbers and quick to respond. I think going back to A&F and have the 3 trustees or whoever, I'll back off. I'm just saying I will not volunteer for it, because I think somewhere along the line that somebody thought there was a big secret going on in A&F.
That's not the reason.
But I'm just saying that's the impression I got. And I think that however you restructure it will save a bunch of time here in the long run. Okay. That's my opinion.
Okay, with your opinion, and please take this as a compliment, but you seem to be the one that pulls everything off consent to discuss.
Not everybody.
But in the history, you pull things off to discuss.
Today.
Since I've been mayor, excuse me, but I would prefer you actually to be on there, so all those questions can be done and answered then, and our meetings would be even shorter. So if this is what the board, I'm just bringing it up on our old business, obviously we can't make a motion or vote on it. I just want you guys to think about it, and Joe, Trustee Fiat was right. I'm sure you don't want to be bombarded with questions all day long, but
I'm getting used to it.
I apologize, Joe.
And by no means do I deflect those. I'm always welcome for questions and discussion. So
okay.
Whatever avenue we end up deciding to take in, obviously I'm okay with.
let's just give it another few meetings, see how it goes, and if you guys get the A&F meeting email, please read and direct your questions to Joe, and if he gets overwhelmed, then we'll form an A&F committee.
Most of these questions, too, I'm going to have to reach out to my staff to get the answers for, which is fine. I have no problem. You know, I've already reached out to a number of the directors, so I have no problem with that.
But trustee Fielko, you will be on it, my
Well,
friend.
If you choose, and we run it through the gamut, and that's what what everybody decides, that's fine with me. But in the beginning, you did say that everybody wanted to be on it except for one person. And I'm willing to step back to let everybody learn the process and know the process. If whatever we decide is fine, though.
Okay, thank you. Regarding the liquor license ordinance, I know that was brought up quite a few times. We are in the process of reviewing it. The deputy clerk, Gina Marcotte, has reviewed it. Even when I was a clerk, we went over it then. I know it's going to be put in Melissa and Janie's hands to do their changes, and then Joe's, and then it will go in front of trustee McNaughton, since it's part of his committee. And what we decide, not what we decided, but what I'm recommending is that anytime that there's an ordinance change, that it goes in front of the respectful committee first, and then to the board. So have the committee, whatever the ordinance falls under. So if it's something due to parks, it would go under parks. If it's something with economic development, it would go under, economic development.
Liquor license.
Liquor license would go under economic development. It's pertaining to our businesses. But it always will come back before the board as well. And if a trustee would like to review it as well, that's not a problem. I just don't want all the back and forth and the employees, the staff being bombarded with questions and so forth.
Could trustee McNaughton, could you please also include on there the tobacco license as well as the gaming?
It's going to be tobacco, gaming, and liquor.
And massage.
Massage?
And
We have a
massage, because
license?
that's another issue that keeps coming up.
Have fun with that. Okay.
And I'm happy to, there's different ways that we can do it in different towns where we have the liquor license where they have to apply if they want video gaming on the front end. So we can make those changes. So if you want a straight liquor license, you get a straight liquor license. If you're going to go video gaming, you have to come that way. So there's a lot of different things we can do there.
Yeah, I think it's best if the gaming comes back before the board. I mean, because I know that I can't vote on anything with a liquor license, but for gaming, I mean, I shouldn't have to abstain.
That's a close call, but I'll take a look at that one.
Okay.
And the gaming also says that the village manager has the right to give out the gaming license. So.
And I actually called Mr. Baber today, and I apologize, Mr. Baber, for asking all these questions in advance. As always, you give me all the answers that I need to set my thought processes properly. So thank you.
It's open.
And on the tobacco, we've done some things where these tobacco shops start becoming prevalent and trying to limit some of that. So that's another thing we can look at.
Trustee Stylen, did you have something you want to add?
Yeah, I'm wondering if I could make a request. Tonight was pretty uncomfortable with the liquor license that came before the board because there were some uncertainties about whether, they were following the ordinance or not, and referencing the IML. I would like to request that we have a moratorium on liquor licenses until we resolve the issue.
There was one placed in June 2016 for 160 days, 180 days, 120 days, 120 days. That's an ordinance change that we'd have to have come back in 2 weeks.
Correct.
So
We do that.
So with Sue's request, put that on the agenda for next time, and then I forgot who made the other request, but can you also put on the open space that was talked about on the agenda as well? For Mr. Balich to come back, Supervisor Balich to come back in front of us to present, assuming that date works for him.
I think, is that all right?
Yeah.
We have to go before, he's got to go before the planning commission first, doesn't he?
Oh, does he?
Well, I think we can have the discussion here first and we get some direction and we can send it to the plan,
Well, I think Melissa's
Your mic.
I think Melissa's already been working with him with the application. Has he contacted you,
Yeah, you
Melissa?
would just be able to apply for.
Yeah, he has to fill out an application and go to the plan commission first.
Yeah, unless Paul, you feel like the board needs to weigh in on whether or not we rezone their open space to open space.
I can't speak for
You know, I
everybody,
think-
but I think they're
I think
pretty
we
good.
can just, I think they can just.
I think
it's
we were talking
pretty
about workshops, and that's what I was thinking. So, but
Yeah,
I'm fine working with you.
I think it's pretty simple, and the request is pretty simple, and I have a feeling, we've done this a couple times with other things, and I think they just need to apply formally with us, and then we can notice and get them on Plan Commission, so.
All right, well, then I retract what I
I
said. You
feel
guys
like
just do what you got to
generally
do.
getting a consensus anyways, that there's support here, so.
Okay. I know that there were some questions regarding the verbiage on how we put things for executive session. There seems to be that IML had changed the way things are put on the agenda, from what I understand. Gina Marcotte had looked into it. I guess there was a change. You can no longer use personnel, so you can't use the word personnel, I guess. So you have to put whatever the statute is. So I just found that out today, so I would have told you guys sooner on that.
In addition to that, I think anytime we put something like that on the agenda, though, it's all well and good because it's going to be executive session. The public isn't supposed to know right away what's being discussed. It's generalized. But the board ourselves need to be informed by the village manager, whoever, with the village manager, exactly what we're going to be discussing. So this board can prepare. Just like we do with any other part of our agenda, we prepare for it. And in this instance, with that verbiage that was on there too, I kind of agreed with what everybody was saying, that was very, I mean, it was way extended as to what we were looking to accomplish. And if the statute reads that it has to include it, that's fine. But as far as notifying the board what we're going to be discussing in executive session and giving us the information so we can create put the tools together and put our research together based on the discussion we're going to have, instead of coming into a meeting and say, well, this is what we decided we're going to talk about. I think that would be helpful to the process. And just to finish up what Trustee Stalin said, I would like to know the process of putting the moratorium on the liquor licenses. Did you mean gambling also? Liquor and gambling?
Well, we don't have a say in the gambling, so it has to start with the liquor, or gaming. It has to start with the liquor ordinance.
Well, could we do both, or at the same time, or can we, would be the process of doing what Sue had explained?
You can't have gaming without a liquor license, so you have to take up the liquor license first.
Okay, so to put a moratorium on it though, what would you recommend that process be to do what Trustee Stalin was saying?
Change the liquor license.
We have to change the code.
Well, no, the moratorium part. She's saying she wants to stop all liquor licenses until we get the liquor license straightened out.
Meaning applications.
Mayor, as the mayor, as the liquor commissioner, could probably institute a moratorium by executive order.
Or this board could do it too, correct?
Correct.
So, that has to be on the agenda though, right?
Correct.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I also asked Mr. Baber today, too, if we could go back to everybody who does have gaming to maybe have like a city sticker and have to pay for that. And I think it will drive revenues for the people that are here and the people that even want that.
You mean stickers on their machines?
On the machines, just like you would in 1972 when we were around. When you had to pull that machine and there was a license on it, and if you had to pay $2,500 per machine, you may think twice about that.
It's an amusement tax fee.
There you go. Thank you, sir. But I asked for that to be on.
Many towns have it. It's akin to, it's not the same, but think about the jukebox with the license, with the sticker on the side. Think about the pinball machine.
And those funds.
To that, it's not the same because it's gaming. It's more restricted.
And those funds could be used to drive other businesses that want to come into Homer Glen.
Trustee McNaughton.
The reason I ask though is because like a pinball machine, there's not revenue being made on it like in a digital process that the state has with gaming. We're getting money from that already, and I just didn't know if the state statute doesn't allow us to put an extra tax on that because we're already making a profit off of the gambling.
No, many towns do in your home rule, so you can't. So, and even non-home rule communities can put a sticker and have a fee.
Trustee McNaughton.
Yeah, I was just going to say I'm quite familiar with that in Illinois and other states. I believe we're one of the few villages that doesn't have the annual sticker on gaming machines. It's typically around $1,000 per machine per year. I don't know how many machines we currently have in the village.
Machines or places, establishments?
Individual machines.
Every place has something different, but some have 6.
That could be in excess of $100,000 of revenue.
No, I don't know. I have a question. Would that be considered an amusement tax?
That I do not know, but what I do know is Lockport does it, and Lockport gives it to businesses to re-renovate their downtown area and everything else, and maybe we could utilize that additional revenues if there's gaming here.
existing businesses.
For existing businesses and businesses that want to come in, some kind of grant.
So I can tell you, from being the clerk, and Gina can tell you this too, that every time someone came in to apply for a gaming license, they always asked, what's our stickers, what's the fee for our machines? So I mean, people are used to it.
They're
but-
used to it because in the city
yeah.
of Chicago, everybody does it. Yeah. But would we consider that an amusement tax, a pass-through tax?
It's not a tax, it's a fee.
Yeah.
Fee? Just
So it's a sticker fee. There's a difference between a fee and a tax. A tax has to be tied something to tie something.
Okay. And just trustee Fialko, so where I left off was the wording for executive session. It was just changed, and it doesn't have a month, but it just says 2023, and this is the change. I just got this right before the meeting, so I can make copies for everybody.
And if I could, Madam Mayor, Gina was on the phone with me last Friday. She said she was looking for some language to put it on there. I quickly cut and paste right out of statute and sent her to her so she could get the agenda out. She was in a hurry. She wanted to get it done by noon. It was 11 or something like that, and I just took it right from the statute. I've used it in other towns. I understand it caused some confusion. We certainly can narrow it.
Well, I don't even think that it was, what went out to the public wasn't the problem. It was the problem that the trustees themselves, behind the scenes, had no idea what that was in regard to.
That I have no idea about.
So that's when I talked to you and I said, I said, well, this is very
I didn't know
confusing.
either, but I didn't know that the IML changed.
Yeah.
So now we know. Now we know why it was there.
Yeah.
Touching back on the trees, which Mr. Trustee Mason had talked about, I think we were trying to plan a workshop for the Parks Committee and the trustees. Are we going to add that to the next agenda? Can we get that going? Would you
Yes.
mind reaching out to your Parks Committee? Because we got to,
Well, we have a meeting on the 21st, and I was going to bring it to their attention at that time.
perfect. And then if they agree, can you just let Mr. Baber know to get it on the agenda as a workshop?
Yes.
All right. And then the last thing is Trantina. I know there were some statements made earlier about Trantina. I don't necessarily know if all of those statements were true. I personally have been deeply involved now since some situation has happened. If that was going to be brought back up, which you had requested for earlier, I would prefer that our employee, Engineer Westcott, would speak on it first. Sure. And then if he had questions and Mr. Porfilio wanted to join in, I'm okay with that. I just think it's only fair and respectful to our own employee to allow him to touch base on whatever he feels necessary. Is this the time you guys want to talk about it now, or does anybody else have anything to add for new business, old business before we move into this? Because I have a feeling it might be lengthy.
You're going to...
Yeah. All right, Mr. Westcott, would you mind answering Jennifer's questions or what she had asked earlier? Oh, you were asking Mr. Porfilio.
Presented the timeline.
But you had asked
the
Mr.
permit.
Porfilio to come and speak on behalf of?
If there was anything that I did not touch on, or if he needed to clarify on any. Mr. Porfilio, did you want to speak to any of that?
Mr. Westcott, would you like to speak on anything?
In regards to Trantina?
In regards to what Jennifer had stated earlier?
Yeah, I think that overall we're where we need to be right now. The erosion control is sufficient. There's some minor things that need to be fixed. The township has applied for the NOI permit as we requested. So they're moving in the right direction with that. The contractors pulled off indefinitely, so there's no more fill that's going to be brought in. They will get the permit. They've performed the proper EcoCat and IDNR requirements for that NOI permit as well. So I would say that we're in good standing right now. Mm-hmm. I don't have anything else to address on that, I guess, for the time being. Okay. If anybody else has any questions regarding Trantina or the timeline to it, I'd be happy to answer those questions.
Were those measurements taken from silt fence to silt fence?
No, sir. They were just the disturbed area, and that was what we measured with the, I met out there with Mr. Al Gonzalez from the IEPA, and that's what we measured on that Friday.
Trustee Steilen?
Okay, so it was my understanding before the IEPA went out there that you measured and it was like 1.2 acres.
Yes.
So it was not under 1 acre at that point. And when the IEPA went out there, he measured it 1.05.
Correct.
Okay, so that at both points, it was over an acre. But before that, when the application was submitted for the permit, it was over 2 acres of estimated land that was going to be disturbed. When we issue a permit, I don't think we go back and say, oh, you don't need a permit now because you didn't do something. Somebody comes in for a permit, and we issue our permits based on the information that is provided at the time of application. And at the time of application, what was required, if more than an acre of land was going to be disturbed, that NPDES permit was to be required. So you can't go back and say, well, we didn't disturb that much, because if we had not said anything, we don't know how much land would have been disturbed, because it was fenced off. 2 acres was fenced off, or more land than an acre was fenced off. So anybody dumping or doing construction work, they would think that those are the boundaries. So, but besides that, and then to the testing, okay, we're told that it's free, clean clay. But the boring samples don't really show clay. The first, foot of that boring sample shows aggregate and asphalt. And what I saw at that property did not look like the clay that I see in my yard. So maybe it's clean in construction standards, but to the general public, that is the question that's being asked. That's not what the general public is seeing. So to raise those questions and concerns, I think, as one of the gentlemen said before, we are the lesser magistrate, or maybe in comparison to the land of the township, and as a trustee, I am responding to the residents' requests, and so I don't see any problem with asking about permits. Thank you.
Trustee McNaughton. Trustee Mason, you already spoke. Trustee Fialko? No, Trustee Reinders? Trustee Cancelino?
No, this is why I wanted there to be discussion, so that communication could finally happen.
Okay, all right, that seems good. For anybody else have anything else for old business then?
No, Mr. Porfirio, did you have something?
Trustee Cancelino, if you'd just let me run the meeting, I think we're good on that. We don't need him to speak upon anything. Everyone's good with the answers. Mr. Westcott did a great job responding. I appreciate that, and he's handling the situation that we have at hand perfectly, so I thank you. Anybody else have anything for old business? New business?
I have a couple requests.
Sure.
I would like to request, make sure that we have some workshops, and we talked about Heritage Park and the item that was pulled or tabled from the agenda. So just to make sure that we get a workshop scheduled to discuss Heritage Park and include the Parks Committee in that discussion. Mm-hmm. And also, I would like to see us have a workshop or to formulate some type of response in regards to the Hadley Parker Road project.
I do apologize, I forgot to mention that, but yes. Do you know when the next Hadley Road meeting is? Melissa, I know you're good. Yeah. I'm sorry, Brett, West, I saw a hand. Do you know, Beth?
In their documents they provided to us in November for the public, I don't know what they have planned with staff between now and then. We don't know
I can't speak for the rest of the trustees, but I do stand with you guys and behind you guys. So if there's anything I can do or speak or say, I'm happy to do it. Does anybody else have anything to add for Hadley? I know we're going to work on a date.
For the Hadley project, I think it might be best if the board as a united front wrote to both of our Will County representatives, as well as the Department of Transportation, and stress that we would prefer to, I hate to say that I think that we're probably going to get stuck with some construction regarding this, but if they're posing options, that we want to be as extremely rural as possible and as least disturbed as possible as far as the environment factors. This was discussed also at Environment Committee the other day. So those are the only two options I can come up with, other than having a number of us show up at the next meeting. However, they don't they don't really give much of a chance, correct, Melissa, for us to make comments, or?
I do not know the structure of the next meeting. The first meeting was just comment cards. There was not, like, it wasn't a presentation with public comment back and forth. I did pull it up on their website, November 2023. There's no specific date listed yet as the next public information meeting.
Okay, well, go ahead.
Can I make the request that we reach out to them, though, and ask for them not to overlap our meetings?
Yeah, that was an issue last time.
That was an issue last time where we had their meeting and our meeting on the same day. That makes it very difficult for us to be there. So I don't know who you would like to have reach out to them and see if they can work with us on that.
Melissa, would you mind taking care of that for us? Thank you. Jennifer, or Trustee Consolino, you had mentioned your committee. You can have a letter from your committee as well, stating.
But I think it would be a stronger impact if it comes, I mean, you could also have a petition on it. Is there a petition already by the residents, Ms. Verdun?
There's not a petition, but the neighbors have been meeting to discuss. Today was our deadline to submit our initial comments and questions. And so we've had a couple meetings to discuss that, and we are moving forward with keeping together as a group. Mike, anything else that they need to know about that?
I would.
A handful of attorneys on retainer
Okay.
in our defense.
I would strongly recommend doing a petition with the neighborhood residents. And like I said, a letter from us, we can do a letter from Environment Committee, but I think as a board united, I think that would have a stronger impact.
Melissa, would you like to type something up from us?
Sure.
Well,
Is it going to be a letter, or can they do a resolution or something like that?
We can do a resolution.
that's,
Sorry, my mic wasn't on.
well, let's plan for a resolution at the next board meeting then.
I think that would be stronger.
Yeah, and then Ms. Burden, I saw you guys reading something earlier. Do you have a copy of that you can provide for us? I mean, it was a long-winded, I think the trustees would like to reread it again, and we'll go through that again. Thank you.
Copies we can give to the clerk, and she can make copies for everybody.
Sure, that would work. Thank you. Was there anything else for new business?
Maybe one of us could attend one of their meetings or something if they'd like one of us to come.
Would you, Beth, again, if you know when your next meeting is for your group that you guys have formed together, if you'd like one of the trustees to attend, they'll be happy to. I'm speaking for them, but I'm sure they'll all be happy to.
We have not set a date yet. We have another resident, Heidi. Is Heidi here? She's been coordinating our, I didn't know you were here, but she's been coordinating our residents, so
Okay.
I'm sure that Heidi gets in touch with a representative from the village
Okay.
to let them know. I did speak with the county board reps as well. Trustee Consolino had said that she reached out to them. I did speak with them personally myself, and they're happy to take part in any kind of meeting or workshops that we have on this.
Now, Attorney O'Grady, since this is a private citizen meeting, can more than 2 trustees attend? Since it is pertaining to something of 2. You can't have more
Well,
than
it
2.
is, I guess it's pertaining to village business in the sense that we're dealing with the roads.
Yeah.
I would limit it to 2.
Set to 2, okay. So
But
2
you're
can attend.
Attending as a resident, right? 2?
Yeah, but if you're attending in your official capacity as a trustee
Yeah.
representing the village.
Let's just
you know,
leave it 2.
But you're not voting on it.
Just send the email to us and then we'll fight it out. We'll duke it out.
you're discussing, you don't have to vote.
Yeah. All right, anything else for new business? No? Okay, was there a workshop? Could have added it right there, I guess, huh? All right, is there a motion to go into executive session?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Fielko, is there a second?
I'll second.
Trustee Reiners, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Can I beg for a 5-minute break?
10 minutes.